Hi everybody, this is David Millar with the Millar Group, and we are Russian River real estate experts. We're here to talk today about the new FEMA flood zone maps. Why are these important is because the FEMA has basically made the maps more stringent, which means there's two zones. There's an F1 zone, which is the floodway, and there's an F2 zone, which is the floodplain. So the floodway is basically where the water is rushing. The floodplain is where the water rises slowly. If you are in the floodway, you cannot. If you have a vacant lot, you can't build in the floodway anymore. If you have a home in the floodway, you're going to need to have that home raised above the 100-year flood elevation, which is an elevation that is set by the USGS. And basically it keeps the house above the water. So basically your living space is not in the flood. When the waters come down, you're raised up above the flood. So if you are in the flood plain, you can still have a house. It just has to be raised above that 100-year flood elevation. If you are in the floodway, you cannot build a house anymore, and it does affect your flood insurance costs. Now, what happened was FEMA changed the maps, and the county had to adapt the FEMA map or risk losing funding for the flood insurance program. So the county right now is in the process of setting up new rules and guidelines around these maps. So it's very important if you're looking to buy a property and say it's a vacant lot, and it's in the floodway, you're most likely not going to be able to build. If it's in the floodplain, you still need to do your research with the county to make sure that you can build a home in the F2 zone. So let's jump into the map and take a look at the different areas. What we're looking at here, right here, is the Northwood Golf Course area. So there's two different colors going on here. One is, and I'll open up the legend for you, floodway, floodplain. You can see the color difference. Now, as you're seeing, floodway is all this blue. So all of these homes here are now in the floodway. Where if you take the old map, the floodway was only this dark orange. So basically the number of homes in Northwood have doubled that are now in the floodway that were in the floodplain. Now most of these lots are built out here already, so you're grandfathered in. Let's move farther down the river and go towards Monte Rio and take a look there. So this is Monte Rio proper right here. Here's River Boulevard on this side, and you can see there's very little actually in the flood plain anymore. That's just that light turquoise blue color. The dark blue is everything that's in the floodway. Let's look at the old map. So as you can see, everything over here on River Boulevard side is now in the, well, not everything, but a large amount has been changed from the old map. Up here around Church Street, you're up on the hill, you're out of the flood zone there. This area here, this neighborhood in here, try to zoom in a little bit more. Beach Avenue, there's a bunch of homes there as you're pulling out of Monte Rio. Those are still just in the floodplain. As if you're local here, you know anyways what floods first and what floods second, so the map probably just verifies what you already know. As you're going out of Monte Rio on 116, this is all Starrett Hill over here, which is across the river, and it's all up on a hill, so you're not in the flood area there. Moving out, so your main flood area is going to be coming into Monte Rio there from Northwood down into where the movie theater is in the main intersection. Moving out, we're moving down Highway 116. This area right in here is all covered as flood way. As you go up the hill here at Laurel Dell. So this is Laurel Dell. Let's look at Laurel Dell the way it was before. As you can see, a lot more of Laurel Dell is covered in floodway opposed to floodplain. So they made it a lot stricter. Boy, a lot of these houses wouldn't even be able to build today per today's FEMA maps. This area over here is Villa Grande. Villa Grande is on Moscow Road as you're heading west out of Monte Rio. So you can see a majority of Villa Grande, they're lucked out there. They're pretty much just floodplain. There's some of these houses where, and this is where you have to always check when you're talking with the county, is half this lot is in floodway, half this lot is in floodplain. If you have enough setbacks and such, you might be able to build if you had a vacant lot, but as you can see, these are all built up. But say this one here, if you were to buy that lot, you'd need to check because it also affects your flood insurance. If the flood way just touches your lot, it can affect your insurance even if the house itself is not in the floodway or the floodplain. So it's something, again, that you need to check with. There's FEMA flood insurance, and then there's also private, like Lloyd's of London has flood insurance too. So you can get private or you can get public flood insurance, and it's always good to talk to a broker who handles both because they can, find out what's the best cost for you. Now looking up Cazadero, we'll go up Cazadero Highway. Pretty much the same as it was before. If you're right along the creek, you're going to be in the flood way. If you're right outside the creek, you're going to be in the floodplain. So in this is the, people always ask me, oh, can this creek flood or can that creek flood? Any creek can flood. And the reason is a tree can fall down, it can get backed up, and it can flood. This affects all the way up Austin Creek. It's basically a flood zone because that creek can fill up very, very fast. So most of the town of Cazadero here is not in a floodway or a floodplain. If you're right on the creek, you're in the floodway. But as you can see, most of these homes up in Central Cazadero proper, even the hardware store is completely safe there. So those are the flood maps. If you've got any questions regarding them, let me know. I can steer you to any kind of an insurance company that can help you navigate the ins and outs of floodway versus floodplain, what your costs are going to be. The main key is, do you have an elevation certificate from the that shows from a surveyor that shows that the house is above the 100-year flood elevation? That's going to be your key for cheaper insurance. You're going to need insurance if you buy the house with a loan. The bank's going to require you to have insurance. If you own the house cash outright, that's your choice. You don't have to have flood insurance if you don't want to. If you've got any questions regarding this or anything real estate in Russian River, we'd love to help you out. My name is David Millar. My number is 707-217-1786. Have a great day.